Welcome back to the show. I'm Kim Foster, and I'm an MD turned coach, a business mentor for my fellow health and wellness coaches, and also the founder of the Wellness Coach Academy. So let me ask you, if you're building a business, do you worry about your critics? Meaning, when you're putting content out there or creating something new or putting an offer out to the marketplace, do you find yourself worrying about what people are going to say and think? Are you worried that people are going to come out of the woodwork and criticize your ideas and poke holes in them and make you feel inadequate or inexperienced or wrong or whatever? I know that a lot of you struggle with this, and I've also seen this hold a lot of people back from doing their good work in the world because they're afraid of being criticized. So if that sounds at all familiar, then you're going to love this episode because I've got a guest with me who has been struggling with this exact issue, and you're going to get to sit in as I coach her through it in real time. So Julie Doan is a previous client of mine, and she has built a truly fantastic and very successful health coaching business. She is a pharmacist by training, and she is also a health coach with a very busy and successful practice helping people with their metabolic and hormonal health. But Julie has been thinking about a new direction for her business for quite some time, and the time is ripe right now for her to start building out this new project. But there are a few things that are standing in her way. Probably the biggest is her mindset around this new venture. So the format of this episode is going to be a little different because I'm going to be coaching Julie on this issue, and I think that you'll be really interested to see how it all plays out and what Julie discovers as we dig into her mindset for this new project for her business. So let's dive in. Well, hey, Julie, welcome to the show.
Hey, Kim. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, I am so excited for today's episode because we're going to be digging into your business and even doing some, a bit of hot seat coaching together just to help you get some clarity about your next steps. And I know that my audience is really going to enjoy hearing all about this because I know that a lot of people are at a similar place as where you are, or at least can relate to the stage that you are at with your coaching business. Before we get into everything, though, let's just give our audience a little bit of a context, first of all. Would you mind just giving just a brief introduction of yourself, telling people a bit about what your business is all about currently?
Perfect. So my name is Julie Doan. I am a pharmacist and I'm also a health coach. So I specialize in helping women with their metabolic and hormonal health. And more precisely, I help either women that have what we call the metabolic syndrome, so pre-diabetes, type 2 diabetes, high blood pressure, and high cholesterol, and who are looking to, through lifestyle habits, reduce their need for medication. So that's my first population. My second population that I help is basically women who have conditions related to their menstrual cycle. So whether that is having painful periods, fertility challenges, or specifically PCOS, these are women that I help with their menstrual cycle through lifestyle habits.
Awesome. I love that. And Julie, you're amazing at what you do. And your business has just been so successful. And you've just made such a huge difference to the people that you, excuse me. You've just made such a huge difference to the people who you just described. And I love that. I think that that's just so. I'm excited to be helping you take everything to the next level here. So let's get into the issue that we're going to be diving into today. Because like you said, so you've been running your business for 4 years now, right? Coaching on nutrition, as you just described, the focus on metabolic and hormonal health, but you are now ready to create a second coaching business helping pharmacists improve their mental well-being. And this is, I believe that this is an idea that you've had for a while now, right? Like since maybe 2020. I'd love for you to tell me more about where this idea came from. Tell me all about it.
Yeah. So indeed, it's been since 2020 that I've had this idea first really enter my mind that it could be a possibility. Now, to give you a bit of background, when I first started coaching, I was aware that there was, let's say, doctors coaching doctors or nurse practitioners coaching nurse practitioners. But when I try to find, like, out of curiosity, is there a pharmacist coaching pharmacists to help them reduce their stress and really create a, meaningful personal and professional life? And I really couldn't find that particular niche. So at the time, I kind of just let it, just let it be. And in 2020, I had met a notary who created a business with her friend who is a lawyer, and they created a wellness program for both of those professions and even got it accredited by their
Hmm.
professional orders for continuing education. And when I heard that, I'm like, that sounds so fun and cool. And the idea of like, hey, I could do that for pharmacists really entered my mind and really made it like a real possibility. But at the same time, I started my health coaching business in 2019, and and I still am very passionate about health coaching business. But at the time, it was 1 year old. I still wanted to give it the chance to grow and become, what it is today. So I put aside that idea like wellness for pharmacists, but it's like an idea that keeps on coming back, like nagging. And I'm someone who has a lot of ideas and they don't always pan out to be anything.
Yeah.
But like this one really does seem to stick. And for me, that's a sign like I should act upon it.
Yes, I love that. And I mean, first of all, I just want to acknowledge how impressive that is that you received this idea, and it felt like a really good idea, but you also recognized at that time that you had sort of more of a like baby business, maybe not baby, but like teenage business that was, you still needed to nurture that, and that's such a smart thing because doing that actually and now we can see that your business that you did decide to focus on that, on your health coaching business for metabolic health, hormonal health, um, that has grown to be very successful. You have lots of clients, you've got a wait list of clients right now, like all of those pieces. So I feel like that's no small thing. And I want people who are, watching or listening to really pay attention to that because we all get that like shiny object syndrome, right? Like we get, like you just said, you've got lots of ideas. We all have got all sorts of great ideas. But the trick is to be able to really focus in on what you need to be working on at this time, at this season, have somewhere where you're kind of capturing all of those really great ideas for next project, but not to take your eye off of what you really need to be focusing on at the present time. So so I love that you did that. But tell me now, so what's making this feel like now this is the right time? Because I agree, it's such a cool idea. It feels very aligned for you to be doing this. So what has made you feel like, okay, this is perhaps the right time to be going ahead with this new idea?
Hmm. So I would say several things. I guess the less tangible part is I feel like it's really the intuition, the fact that this idea just keeps on pressing, coming back to me. I mean, I'm somebody who has my own spiritual practice. And for me, when I see signs, like I like to honor them and follow them. And I've been getting a lot of different signs saying like, this is something I need to do. The second thing is I feel like mental health for healthcare professionals has been a thing. I think we've been aware that healthcare professionals in the allopathic system are really stretched. But it feels like after the pandemic, it has just taken, just a whole new level of stress and dissatisfaction. And personally, I'm also getting a lot of like newsletters from my professional orders talking about mental health, pharmacist burnout. And I feel like right now, I guess I would say my audience that I'm building, so the pharmacists, they're like much more, I feel like they're more ready to be talking about this because it's been like, again, the past 2 years with the pandemic, we're really talking a lot about mental health. And it seems like now is a good time to create an offering around that because I have a sense that my people, the people I want to serve, are ready to start looking, at this particular topic in their life. So I would say that there's that. And I guess the third one is after having experienced a certain level of, success in my current business, I know there is still a place for it to grow, and I'm looking forward to seeing how I'm going to be able to make that happen. But at the same time, I'm also somebody who, as I mentioned, I get a lot of new ideas, and I do have enough discipline to stick to one thing. But it
Mhm.
almost seems like after 4 years, like I'm ready to try something new, right? At the time, something new in my health coaching business was expanding my expertise. So before I was mainly focused on metabolic health, and after I expanded to more hormonal and menstrual cycle, and that was really exciting. And now at this point, I'm like, I want something new, but I don't feel like it's going to be necessarily in that sphere. And I felt like I really want to dive into mental health. So I feel like those are the three things that have really made it feel like now is the time to create this offering.
Yeah, I love that. And I love how really, this is a very well thought through decision, it seems to me, because you are both paying attention to what's going on out there in the zeitgeist. Like, you're getting newsletters about this. There's a lot more talk, in the marketplace about this issue of mental health for healthcare professionals. But you're also paying attention to what's going on inside, in your intuition. Where do you want to grow? Where do you want to go with this? All of that. So you're paying attention to both of those elements, which I think is great. And I agree, this is definitely the right time. And I just want to get clear on the status of your current business. Right now, you have a wait list of like 7 or 8 people,
Mm-hmm.
something like that, for your one-to-one health
Exactly.
coaching services, right? So it seems to me that you're in a really good position. I think that you mentioned, when we were just briefly chatting about this before, that you don't need to necessarily be in push mode in terms of marketing, that you're in a really great position, that that you're going to be continuing to have those clients coming through to you. So you've got cash flow, you've got work, you're still going to be able to, you won't be just abandoning it to work on this additional project, which is a great spot to be in.
Yeah,
So
definitely. And if I can just touch upon that, especially
yeah.
the cash flow part is for me was important to have a transition plan, or at least a plan where I can create space for myself and not have to worry about, okay, so how am I going to meet my financial goal? So yes, the fact
Mhm.
that I have a wait list creates that, a good financial cushion for me to, let's say, take a pause, at least from the marketing side. I will still obviously be seeing my one-on-one clients, but at least from the time that I spend marketing, I will be able to spend it creating the foundations for this new offering I want to make. But also, for me, I have a few self-paced courses that I can begin to sell for more, I guess, quote unquote, passive income.
Yeah.
So I'll still be able to have a positive cash flow and focus on this new thing that I'm creating.
Yes, I love that. And that's such a smart position to be in, to not, because you need space to create something new, and you need cash flow so that you're not like dependent. All of those pieces are in place. So that's great. So given all of that, tell me, what are the challenges that you feel like you're facing with this new venture? Like, what are the potential obstacles as you start to think about, you've created space, your cash flow is fine for now. So then, what are the things that are standing in your way? Tell me about that.
Yeah. So I feel like maybe one of the things that are standing in my way, and we briefly talked about this before our call, was the fact that this is a new audience that I'm going to be
Mhm.
addressing to, and it's an audience of basically my peers. And one thing that I guess in my mind, where I'm creating a little bit of drama, is prior to this, with my audience, is more of a quote unquote general audience, not necessarily in the healthcare space. And the fact that I am a pharmacist and health coach, the pharmacist part almost like builds in this trust or like this expert, status, which I've, definitely played with to my advantage, to help me really like the most often the feedback I would get from my clients is like, well, I really love the fact that you're also a pharmacist and you're also into the
Mhm.
natural world. It's like, for me, is the best of both worlds. So I've been kind of like taking advantage of that, definitely. And the fact that now I'm addressing to healthcare professionals, which are, maybe they won't necessarily expert in mental health, but, my impression is that they're quote unquote a harder crowd. And I know with, because I had built my own health coaching business over 4 years, that I know that I will resonate with certain types of people, and that's perfect. Other ones I won't, right? And I'll know I have there are people who will like me out there, but it almost seems like the fact that I'm talking to the other healthcare professional, my peers, it's like this pressure that I have to perform, or that it's going to be a more of a harder crowd. Because I mean, from my own experience of working as a pharmacist in like a hospital setting, pharmacists we're like a little bit more critical, a little bit more skeptic of things, right? We want the hard evidence base, etc. So it's almost like almost like a shyness of appearing in front of a new crowd that like I don't know. Can I trust them? Almost thing. So there's a little bit of like we can start with that. There's a little bit of mind drama over there, feeling I have to perform, or I have to like appear like when I speak, I have to have a list of like bunch of references to like back up what I'm about to say, right?
Yes. Okay, this is good. This is really juicy because yes, I can absolutely see what you're saying, how in your, in the other arm of your business, your current business, which you still love, you're able to lean on your expert status a little bit more,
Mhm.
right? Like, or a lot more perhaps, because you do have this credential, you're a pharmacist, and your clients aren't pharmacists and they're probably not in healthcare. And so that just naturally positions you in more of an expert role. And so, yes, it sounds like you don't have any of that like proving energy, maybe, right?
There's
Like
no
you
like
don't have
imposter
to.
syndrome, I would say.
Yes, imposter syndrome. That's exactly what it is, right? But now that you're venturing into starting to speak to a new audience comprised of people who more accurately would be described as your peers, other pharmacists, now you're some imposter syndrome things are coming up. So what kinds of stories are you telling yourself about this? Like, what are the thoughts and the beliefs and things that about your ability to speak to an audience of your peers, to stand up there and speak to them about something. I think the other piece that you mentioned in there, which is really worth digging into too, is the like hard evidence and like all of that kind of stuff. And maybe are you going to be talking about kind of a fluffy subject like mental health, like that? It's
Yeah.
different, right?
Hmm.
So, but tell me, when you think about you're starting to create content or speak, or maybe even speaking in a room of pharmacists, what are some of the things that you're telling yourself about your authority or your ability to speak to this new group of people?
Mm. Yeah. So the first thing is definitely the fluffier subject of like mental health, or even what I'm going to be talking about is like, emotional intelligence, and how I feel like healthcare professionals definitely need more of that. But as soon as you're venturing into like talking about emotions, processing emotions, I feel people are going to be like question mark. But then again, I know that because I do want to start first by like having a podcast, being able to explore my own voice, and people who want to listen to it will listen in, right? Versus let's say me going
Yeah.
into a room of people who are maybe didn't sign up for this. So there's definitely that fluffy aspect of talking about emotion, talking about mindfulness, meditation, talking about overall like mindset tools,
Mhm.
which it might feel like a little bit of a blur. And I know many healthcare professionals are open to, let's say, quote unquote, alternative medicines. But there's also, I met several throughout my career as a pharmacist who are very skeptical and very just barred off from this. Again, I know it's not necessarily the people I will be talking to, but it's almost like I have them in the back of my head, like yapping at me every time I think of like, oh, this would be such a fun topic to talk about. And after I have this, like, yeah, but after this, there'll probably be this person who'll be asking, like the little skeptic in the back and asking like, well, what's the proof kind of that you have, right? So again, coming back to that / imposter syndrome, feeling like I have to prove that I know what I'm talking about. I would say, yeah, there's that fluffy part. There is the fact that I feel like I may be like, do I know enough on this topic, or like, do I have enough things to back up what I'm going to say? What else is there? I guess, I mean, on the long term, there's also the desire to create a program that will be accredited for continuing
Mhm.
education by my order. And I mean, I know they'll rightfully ask a lot of questions, just to make sure this is a quality program, which is fine. But I feel like, again, there's that idea of like, I'm going to have to like prove myself. And um, yeah, that's what's coming up for me right now.
Okay, that's that's a lot of stuff though. But it's amazing how you're able to, and you do such a good job of this, of actually being able to like open up your mind and look in and observe, okay, what is actually coming up from here? And this is just such a crucial skill for anyone who is, when you start to feel that resistance coming up and just think, well, what's going on under there? What, just get really curious about it, just exactly like you've done, Julie, is not judging yourself for having these, negative thoughts or having imposter syndrome, but just we're just curious about it. Okay, so what do we? Those thoughts are there. What should we do about that? So one of I mean, there's so many different directions that we could go in with this, but I am wondering about, in particular, so pharmacists, it's not a monolith, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
there are lots of different kinds of personalities that come to pharmacy. I mean, there are some trends, like you mentioned, generally they're healthcare professionals, very professional and looking for evidence. That's a general trend. But of course, there's going to be different personalities. So let's think about, and you did touch on it a little bit, like, are they necessarily going to be my client? So let's talk about the personality that is going to be like the heckler in the back of the room, or maybe at the front of the room, right? Like asking you
Mm-hmm.
questions, saying, what's your evidence for that? And why should we listen to you? And where are you getting this from? That personality versus, because I think that it sounds like maybe you're thinking a lot about that person, your
Mm-hmm.
critic, right? Like the critic versus, let's talk about, and let's start to imagine a different personality who is much more likely to be your client, right? But who's going to be more open. So tell me about the kind of pharmacist who is going to be in the audience, who is going to not be the heckler, not be the critic, but is going to really be open to what you're describing. So do you have an image of that person?
Yeah. And it's just funny because as you're talking, I'm like, it's true. I haven't really taken the time to create like a client avatar to really imagine myself talking to that person. There's like a few guidelines. So the things that I know is um, it's person who one is like very multifaceted, multi-passionate in the sense that yes, there's pharmacy in their life, but they're also really looking to grow the other areas of their life because let's say in the past when I've at least had a discussion with a few pharmacists or even healthcare professionals is like we've dedicated our lives or like a lot of years of our lives to academia and now we find ourselves with the job and things like that and kind of like a question mark, okay, but like who am I? I've ticked off all the boxes, but like what's next? So for me it's really talking to that person who's looking now that they've achieved a certain level of success in their career, they're really open to examining the other areas of their life, and they are, I guess I would say, either they have begun exploring personal development as they find themselves at the space of what's next, or they maybe even have dove into it like a good, I guess maybe the first year. So either, yeah, 1 year of like personal development is open to this. Maybe, has started going to yoga classes, becoming a little bit more introspective. So definitely my
Mhm.
ideal client is interested in this topic. And I guess is comes along with the open-mindedness is the person who's willing to um, examine what they're being, told, what their information is being shared with them, but also at the same time, not jumping into, well, what's the evidence kind of thing. So
Yeah.
yeah, there's definitely that I would feel. So I basically said, who's ready for the next level, who's ready to examine. Like there's that self-examination part and that openness about personal development.
Yes, I love that. And I think that, I mean, of course, now that you're just starting to think about, okay, well, what does my ideal client
Mm-hmm.
avatar, what is that person like? Then you'll of course want to go and do some even more work on
Mm-hmm.
like really digging into who this person is, who is going to be your ideal client, is going to be attracted to working with you. And my question is, what if you only focused on speaking to that type of person, on those people. And you acknowledged that, yes, there are going to be the critics, but you can't do anything about that. There are always going to be critics. But what if you just didn't even think about speaking to them, and you just focused on speaking to the people who you know you can really help, who are going to be open to what you're talking about? What would come up for you if that was your approach?
Well, I'm just thinking that definitely my life would be easier.
Yes.
In the sense that, like, yeah, the ideas, I mean, I have plenty of ideas. I guess that little blocker is like, well, what will X say? And it's just interesting. And it's fun that I've created a business before this, because I can reflect on my experience. And to be honest, I've really, if never, had a really rude comment, on my health coaching. Because there's a lot of things that people can say, to the content that I post. And if ever anybody had a comment to say, to be honest, it was always been very constructive, or like I sense the person was really asking out of curiosity versus some like a heckler just saying that, my content is like BS or something like that, right? So I've actually never had the experience of having this real heckler. So just the odds of having one in my new business, I mean, it could happen, but like my experience has shown me that people are really, the ones that I attract in my world are really genuinely nice. So being able to just focus on that person who is open-minded and who's ready to receive what I'm about to say is definitely helps it more fun to create material around, and also just help, I guess, relax my energy around what I want to create.
Absolutely. I love that. Yes. And I mean, it's interesting because I mean, I agree. And this has been my experience too, is the vast majority of people are very supportive, positive, and open and interested in, and most people are quite positive, like respond very well. You know, when you come out there and you're creating things and you're sharing things with the right intention of like, you're trying to help people, most people respond very positively to that. But I also wonder if maybe because you haven't actually had the experience of somebody being truly nasty, because there's no doubt that's out there also. Like,
Mm-hmm.
definitely, sooner or later, probably, Julie, you're going to encounter somebody who's just not so pleasant about it. That's just the reality for all of us. And I wonder if the fact that you haven't actually had that experience yet might, because, things that we haven't had happen yet, sometimes we can inflate them in our mind as being way worse than they actually are. And once you've actually experienced it, it's like, well, that did kind of suck, but it didn't kill me. And I'm just going to keep on doing my good work here in the world. What do you think of that? Like what comes up for you when I say that?
To be honest, it's when I started saying that, I'm like, it won't be that scary. It will not be fun. I'll probably cry about it for like, a few minutes. And after that, I'll just recover and being like, I think I have enough tools and self-awareness to just guide myself back to, okay, like that's one person, but the work I'm doing is still important and I'm helping somebody with this. So I'll just carry on. So I know I'm resilient enough, but yeah, maybe the fact that it's never happened to me, I'm just making it feel like, it's like, when there's like the idea of a scary monster in the dark and you're just not willing to shine light on it. You're just thinking like, you're just trying to pretend it's not there. It's like super scary. But once you look at it, you're like, oh, okay, it's not that fun, but okay, it's not
Not
the
as
end of the
bad as I
world.
thought, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. And I mean, of course, the alternative is we give all kinds of attention and mental energy to the people that we're afraid of criticizing us, and we change our, message and language and sort of shift to. So that's the alternative, is trying to please the people who we anticipate might be our critics. And I'm sure that you'll agree that is, like, of course, when you say it like that, you're not going to do that. You're going to focus on your energy and your messages being authentic, exactly the stuff that you want to share, and focus on the people who are going to be receiving that versus worrying about what the potential critics might say, who are just going to come at it from just not understanding or just a different approach or viewpoint or whatever it is. Right.
Yes,
So, yeah.
exactly.
Yeah. So, okay. So I think that really what will help you the most here is to focus on, like, to get very, very specific about your best clients, like your best audience who are going to just be loving everything that you're saying. And they're going to really be, and just from a general content point of view, because that's your really public facing stuff, but then especially when they are going to become clients of yours in this new work that you're doing, and really get a clear picture of those people, and then create your stuff for them, and just put your blinders on about the critics, because the critics are out there. It doesn't matter. You know this. I know you know this. It doesn't matter what you're talking about. Somebody's going to have a problem with it, and that person might be very vocal about it, and deal with that when it happens. But we're just going to put our blinders on, not worry about those people, stay centered with what you know you can do to help people, even other pharmacists, and really focus on getting clear on who that person is.
Yeah, definitely. And I think it's also a lot of, for me anyways, a lot of inner work of reminding myself, like, you know what, I really value the things I have to say. I approve of the things I want to share.
Yes.
And of course, if there's other people who love that and is helpful, amazing. But I don't need someone else to, approve of what I'm doing. So I feel like for me, it comes back a lot to that. And once I build trust in the value of what I'm offering, it just becomes so much clearer.
Yes, exactly. Stand strong in the value of what you are offering, because what you're offering is going to be life-changing for many people. Is it going to be for everyone? No, of course. And you don't need everyone. That's the other thing that's really important to keep in mind, is that you don't need everyone to be on board with what you're talking about. It's absolutely fine for some people to think, Julie Doan, what is she talking about? Who needs that? That's fine. And also allowing for people to be wrong about you.
Hmm.
Let people be wrong about you. Um, that's perfectly fine. That's their prerogative also. And we're going to direct our energy away from that group, and we're direct our energy squarely on the people who can use your help the most.
Yes, exactly.
I love it. The other piece that I wanted to just sort of peel back the layer a little bit on, and I think that you said it several minutes ago, was the something about, like, do you know enough yet, or have enough authority to help people in this realm, right? Because again, you're helping peers, other pharmacists, with their mental health. Do you have enough knowledge, or something along those lines, to be able to help them? Do you tell me a little bit more about what, like, those thoughts that are coming up for you?
Yeah, so those are like amusing thoughts. Again, I say amusing because just like, I guess, when you want to call it the higher self or just the more experienced self that says like, of course, Julie, of course you have enough experience. Like, what are you
Right.
talking about? Right. Like,
Yes.
you have a life coaching certificate, you've done mindfulness teacher trainings, like, you know what this is about. But I guess there's that, the fact that I haven't perhaps dove in seriously into this topic yet. And again, I guess it also comes to the fact of I'm comparing, let's say, this business with my other business, which is already 4 years. And it just seems like
Right.
I'm not the level of like expertise. And like, of course, that's normal. It's barely a year old. It's not even a month old, right? So I think it's that there's just that little fear of unknown. The fact that I haven't really gotten, I mean, yes, I've spoken to a few pharmacist friends about this, and he finds like a really great idea. But I feel like it is, until I get that experience of putting it out there and actually getting real feedback, there's a part of me that's wondering, like, yeah, like, am I the right person for this? Do I know what I'm talking about? And there's that other, I guess, experience part of me that just knows like, you'll learn as you go. You have a lot of tools. You've helped a lot of people in mindset in your health coaching business. So, mind drama in one part of your area is going to look like the same in mind drama in other areas of your life. So I know I have the experience, but I think that it's like this story I have in my head that like, oh, because this is like a new audience, like a little slightly different, I guess, focus or problems that you want to look at. It's like my mind's making it like, it's this really different thing and it's going to be really hard. You're going to start from scratch, which I know I'm not starting from scratch. That's like a story that my mind likes to give because it's like a different audience, even if it's like a related subject.
Yes. And I can absolutely hear the internal battle that you've got going on in your mind there. Like you just heard it to yourself when you said it out loud. But yeah, so on one side, you're like, of course you've got enough experience and of course that you have got the tools that can help people. And then on the other side, you've got the gremlin on your shoulder that's saying, "Who are you?" Which really is like, as we said before, that imposter syndrome. And I think that this is just so crucial because so many people have this same set of feelings when your business is brand new, when you are starting a brand new thing, if you're changing industries, if you were never in the wellness industry before and now this is what you really want to get into, almost everybody that I talk to has this same stuff coming up like, do I know enough? And I think that it's this impulse that drives people to like get more certifications and do more training and more courses rather than just get started. Because you're trying to soothe your imposter syndrome, like, hey, like if I can just do this one extra course to learn this one extra thing, then I'll feel legitimate and then I can go public with this. So I can hear the battle in you, going on back and forth. So I know that you have the tools and the language really inside you to be able to quiet the gremlin that is saying, oh, you don't know enough yet to do this. But I think maybe if we got even more concrete with this and gave you some like an actual, really like an affirmation, a mantra, something that you could say to yourself, because that gremlin is going to pop up. Like right now, you seem to be kind of successfully, right now talking to me, you seem to be like successfully rationaling your way. Rationaling? That's not a word. But you know what I mean, right? Like you're working
talking my way through it.
You're talking my way through it. But when it comes to like when you post your first post about like mental health in pharmacists, or when you are writing your program page, your sales page for your very first offer, that gremlin's going to come up again and again and again, and try to stop you and try to keep you safe and try to keep you small and try to keep you like coloring inside the lines. Like, don't do this new thing. This is scary. You don't know enough. So let's see if we can create some things that like quick and easy sound bites that you can say to yourself to silence the gremlin and keep moving forward. What comes up for you when I say that?
So there is one phrase that's coming up for me that I practice it more for in my other business when I was beginning, is something goes along the lines of, my personality, my experience, and my knowledge makes me the perfect person for my client. And just playing off with that, even the fact that, I am a pharmacist, is what's coming up for me right now is like the fact that I am a pharmacist, it creates that trust factor because I'm one of their peers. Yes. So in my other business, the fact that I'm a pharmacist creates that trust factor because, okay, a healthcare professional, she's not going to just say any kind of nonsense that comes out of her mouth. Right. But here it's like more the fact that I'm a peer, it helps that trust factor. So that's why I'm like, okay, my own experience in that sense, but also my experience of having done health coaching for the last 4 years is definitely going to put me in a position where I can help people. So, and again, for my personality, I've been given the feedback that I have a rather calming, presence or just calming energy. And the people who are, looking for that, I'll be the perfect person for my kind of client. So that's the phrase. I guess my personality, my experience, and my knowledge makes me the perfect coach for my clients.
Yes, I love that. So you want to write that down somewhere, like on Post-it note or like a little screen saver on your phone or whatever you need to be able to look to that when you start to get those, jitters about whether you actually have the authority to do this. but I also want to say, I love how you flipped. That was a total flip of like, because before you were worried that because you were just the same as them, you're not in the expert. So do you really have the authority to help them with your mental health? But you flipped that and made it that because you are one of them, you totally get it, and that makes you the perfect person to help them with their mental health because you are in there with them, right?
Mm.
So you took what was being, it's the same fact. You are a pharmacist and they are a pharmacist. Same fact, but you're viewing it from two different ways. Before you were saying, it's kind of a disadvantage because I'm not the expert. Now you're like, it's an advantage because I am a peer. And that's just the perfect reframe. I love that.
Yeah, it is good to talk it out because eventually,
Yes.
yeah, my wiser self will point to me like, oh yeah, it's not a weakness, right? It's definitely something that could be to your advantage.
Yeah. And it's a great question just to ask yourself in general, like when you're viewing something as being a weakness, ask yourself, what if this one thing was actually my greatest strength? What if, right? Like
Mm.
and that just gives you permission to consider it from different angles because there's always multiple angles for everything. And I mean, again, like this issue of do I know enough comes up for so many people. And what we often, need to remind ourselves is that do you know everything there is to know about a certain subject? No. Do you need to know absolutely everything in order to help people? No, you don't. And also learning is an ongoing thing, right? Like and I think you also said this before, like how ultimately you'd like to create something that can be accredited, that, that can be used for like the continuing education requirement for the profession. Um, that doesn't have to be now. You don't have to have all of that stuff right now in order
Exactly.
to get started. And it's going to be a continuously evolving journey, an evolving product the more you interact with your audience and your ideal clients, it's gonna be a two-way street, and it's gonna be a beautiful thing. So do you have enough to get started helping just one person right now? Yes, you do. Um, but of course, you need to have ways of reminding yourself that because you're not going to have me saying, "Yes, you know enough, Julie," when those like fears come up for you, or yeah.
I'll just listen to this podcast again whenever those fears come up.
Yes, exactly. And I think it is also really important acknowledging, like noticing that it is a fear, right? That it is, be like, that's just me, like that. And it's your primitive brain, right? Like so much of this always comes back to our primitive brain just does not want us to try something new. Something new is untested and cannot, and on a very primal level, cannot guarantee your survival. You might get kicked out of the tribe for this and have to go out on your own and survive, which you're not going to. So, right, like we are hardwired to want that approval. We are hardwired to need to not get kicked out of the tribe and to keep everybody happy and not rock the boat. So it's just your primal fear of doing something new that is kicking in. And so noticing it and recognizing it for what it is. That's my primitive brain just trying to keep me safe. Okay, brain, I get this. I appreciate you trying to keep me safe, but I have got this. I can handle this.
Yeah, definitely. And what's I find interesting coming to mind is, this similar fear showed up when I began my health coaching practice. And even now, as I'm, starting, yes, there's new business. And at the same time, I have 4 years of experience. I know how to create this business model. The fear is still there, right? And it's just like a
Yes.
new version of the fear, new stories it's trying to tell me. But it's like almost like, okay, I've heard this before. Like this
Yes.
is not new. Like why? Like I mean, I have conversations with my brain, like, brain, why are you freaking out? We know how to do this, right? So it just seems familiar. And in case this could be helpful for anyone listening, it's like the fear is just going to show up again. It's going to tell you a different version of the story, but it doesn't mean that anything has gone wrong. It's just, there's always that fear who just says it's going to show up anytime there's a slightly new thing.
Exactly. Yes, exactly. And what's so important about that is like waiting for the fear to go away. Like if you wait to not feel fear, you're going to be waiting forever. Like it's just the fear is always going to be there, and it's just a matter of like how do you handle it? And feeling the fear and doing it anyway is such a key thing. So yes, you see, okay, oh, my fear is popping up again, trying to keep me like, okay, that's a familiar feeling. And I love that you are able to just recognize that and oh, there we are, my old friend, fear, but have much more empowered ways of dealing with it rather than think, oh my God, I'm feeling fear. That must mean this is all wrong, right? Like you said, don't make it mean that something has gone wrong. It's just a normal part of the experience, especially when you're trying something new and kind of like stretching the envelope a little bit or a lot. Yeah, that's great. Okay, so before I let you go, let's make sure that I want you to be crystal clear on what is the very next step that you're going to do to move this project forward. Because I'm so excited to see this actually come to fruition. But I need you to be clear on what is the very next thing that you're going to do.
Yeah. So for me, I feel like the takeaway from our conversation today is really clarifying who is it that I'm really speaking to, as I know that's really going to be, it's really going to help me not only create my content, but also help me redirect whenever I'm just imagining that, critic. I don't know. I have like the picture of like an old professor in my head whenever I'm thinking about the critic. So like by clarifying who am I speaking to, like that's just going to help me at least snap out of that quicker and be like, no,
Yeah.
this is a person I'm really talking to. And I feel like also just reminding myself of that affirmation that I shared with you earlier is also going to help me
Mhm.
anchor into, I guess, my expert status, which I feel is, still young, a little shaky, but that it definitely with reinforcement, it will really become a part of who I am.
Yes, that's perfect. I love that. Yeah, I would love for you to really dig into like create a flesh and blood version of your ideal client that you can, like you said, it'll snap you into not worrying about the hecklers and the critics and the types that are going to have a problem. And so we're not giving them energy, but we're going to give lots and lots of energy and lots of love to the people who are going to be your ideal client. So yeah, get creative, have fun with it. Really think about who it is that is out there right now waiting for you to help them. Because I think that that's just going to help to keep you moving forward. It's your why, right? Like that ultimately when it comes down to it, that's your motivating factor is like there are people out there who are really in need of some help and you're going to be getting out there and helping them.
Exactly.
Yes, I love that. So what would you say was like the biggest shift here for you today, or what was the most kind of valuable part of what we talked about?
I feel like it's that shift that you had pointed out, where initially I saw the fact that I'm like a peer was a disadvantage, and just being able to like see like, no, it's something that really could play to my advantage. Just having talked it out with you has really just helped me create some reassurance and more like a peaceful energy around around that. Yeah, so that was really fun to be able to anchor into that trust.
That's great. I love that. Oh, this has just been so fun, Julia, and just such a pleasure. I hope that you've enjoyed it, and no doubt our audience enjoyed it too. Before I let you go, just tell us where people can actually go to learn more about you and the work and that you're doing, and get in touch with you if they're feeling inspired to do that.
Of course. So, well, first of all, thank you so much for inviting me on your podcast and offering me like a live coaching session. It's really fun. And how people can reach me is I'm mainly active on Instagram. So it's going to be at Julie Doan Health. And my website is juliedoanhealth.com.
Perfect. And I'll put those links in the show notes too, so people can easily find you and get in touch. All right. Have an amazing day, Julie. Thanks so much. Take care.
Take care. Bye.
Well, there you have it. I hope that you enjoyed that and that it gave you some new ideas or perspectives about how to handle those mindset gremlins that will seek to stand in your way as you build your business. Because as you heard me say many times, even though I was coaching Julie through the specifics of her business, so many of these same mindset issues will come up for other people inside their businesses. And the principles are really the same. So I would love to know what you thought of this format. Did you enjoy being a fly on the wall of this coaching session? Was it helpful? Let me know, because if it was helpful, I'll make some more content like this. So if you're watching on YouTube, drop me a comment below this video just to let me know if you'd like to see more episodes like this, or if you're listening to the audio of this episode, then just find me on Instagram and let me know. I would love to hear from you. Okay, that's a wrap for today. Have a wonderful week, and I will see you again very soon.